A wall cavity 6 inches deep, stuffed tight with old newspaper and wood shavings, has an insulation value of roughly R13. That is the exact same rating as a 6-inch batt of pink fiberglass sold at any hardware store in America today for around $400 a roll. The newspaper costs nothing. It is already in the recycling bin. The wood shavings cost nothing. Any sawmill, any cabinet shop, any lumber yard in the country will hand them over by the truckload, for free, just to empty the dumpster. Stuff them into the walls of any wood-framed home. Add a layer of craft paper on the inside for a vapor barrier. Seal the cavities. The walls hold heat in January. They block it in July. The furnace runs half as often. The air conditioner runs half as often. The electric bill drops by 30 to 50% every month for the rest of the life of the house. This was the standard American wall, from 1776 through the 1940s, built by farmers, carpenters, and homeowners, using materials pulled from the barn, the woodshed, and the kitchen trash. No truck delivery, no contractor, no permit, no bill then. In a single generation, those materials became unusable, not because they stopped working, because the law, the lender, and the insurance company stopped allowing them. Now you buy the replacement, every single time. The U.S. building insulation materials market is worth $31 billion a year. Fiberglass alone accounts for over 35% of that number. Owens Corning, Johns Manville, Knauf, and CertainTeed are the 4 companies that control most of what goes into the walls of the houses being built in this country. Their combined revenue from insulation exceeds the entire GDP of several small nations. A single whole home insulation job in a new build costs between $3,000 and $7,000 for the materials alone. Labor doubles that. Spray foam, the premium product, runs between $3 and $7 per square foot, meaning a 2,000 square foot home can exceed $14,000 just for the walls and ceilings. Those are the installation costs. The lifetime costs are higher. Fiberglass batts sag after 15 to 20 years. Air gaps open at the top of the wall cavity. The R value drops. The home starts losing heat again. A retrofit means either removing drywall to replace the batts or drilling holes and blowing in loose-fill cellulose at $2 to $4 per square foot. Either way, another $3,000 to $7,000. Over a 30-year period, the average American home is insulated, retrofit, and partially re-insulated 2 to 3 times. Total lifetime cost for insulation alone on a single home is between $7,000 and $20,000. Now count the utility bills. The EPA estimates that air leaks and inadequate insulation cost the average American household between $200 and $600 per year in wasted heating and cooling. Over 30 years, that is another $6,000 to $18,000. Money paid monthly to the utility company because the walls of the house do not hold heat the way they should. The Depression-era system had no purchase price, no replacement cycle, no sag, no air gap. The newspapers did not settle. The straw did not compress. The sawdust did not rot as long as it stayed dry. The entire system lasted as long as the house stood. No installation fee, no retrofit, no annual R-value audit, no contractor, no brand, no subscription, no plastic wrapping. No product, the walls just worked. In 1932, a researcher named Dale Kleist at the Corning Glass Works was attempting to seal 2 blocks of glass together. A stream of pressurized air struck the molten glass by accident. Thin glass fibers spun off. A year later, Corning and Owens, Illinois partnered to commercialize the fibers as an insulating material. By 1938, the joint venture Owens-Corning Fiberglass was incorporated. By 1945, the company was selling fiberglass batts into every new home being built in America. Fiberglass did one thing the traditional materials could not. It could be patented. It could be boxed. It could be trucked to a building supply store and sold by the roll. It could be inspected, rated, and attached to a paper label with a number on it. In the late 1940s and 1950s, as the post-war housing boom put millions of new homes on the ground, state and local building codes began to standardize what counted as acceptable construction. By 1965, the first mandatory wall insulation requirements entered U.S. residential building codes. The requirements did not forbid natural insulation. They simply listed 3 specifications that had to be met. First, the insulation had to have a certified R-value rating stamped by an approved testing laboratory. Newspaper and sawdust had never been tested. They had no stamp. A homeowner could not legally claim a rating without one. Second, the insulation had to pass a Class A or Class B fire rating, raw newspaper, and raw sawdust burn. A homeowner could treat them with borax for fire resistance, and that treatment actually works. But getting a building inspector to accept a homeowner-treated material with no certified fire test was nearly impossible in practice. Third, most codes required insulation to carry a flame spread index label issued by a nationally recognized testing organization like Underwriters Laboratories. Those organizations test products submitted by manufacturers, not loose materials stuffed by hand. Taken together, the three requirements did not ban the Depression-era methods. They simply made it impossible to get a house through inspection, or financed, or insured, using those methods. No mortgage lender would write a loan on a house that failed inspection. No insurance company would cover a home whose walls were not rated. The natural materials were not disproven. They were paperworked out of existence. It was not banned outright. Just never mentioned again in any contractor training manual written after 1965. Never included in any builder certification program offered by any industry trade organization. Straw bale homes, which build entire exterior walls out of compressed agricultural straw, have R values between R30 and R50, higher than almost any commercial product on the market. The Nebraska prairies are dotted with straw bale farmhouses built in the 1890s that are still standing, still insulating. Still occupied, the U.S. Department of Energy has tested straw bale insulation. The results were published. They confirmed every claim the homesteaders had been making for a century. The results were never referenced in a single fiberglass marketing campaign, then or since. The Depression-era insulation system had 4 components. Each one was available free or nearly free. Each one addressed a different part of the house. Here is exactly how each worked, what it cost, and what it replaces. Component 1. Shredded newspaper with borax treatment. Borax costs about $6 for a 4-pound box at any grocery store. A single box treats enough newspaper to insulate an entire wall. Take old newspaper. Shred it by hand or in any paper shredder. Mix 1 pound of borax per 10 pounds of shredded paper. Borax is a naturally occurring mineral salt. It raises the fire resistance of cellulose to the same level as modern commercial cellulose insulation, which is just recycled newspaper with added borax and ammonium sulfate. The science is simple. When paper catches fire, the combustion produces carbon dioxide and water vapor. Borax, when heated, releases water molecules that cool the reaction and starve the fire of oxygen. The treated paper will scorch. It will not flame. Pack the treated shredded newspaper into the wall cavity tightly from the bottom plate to the top. Do not leave gaps. Each cubic foot of packed paper traps roughly 4 R value per inch of thickness. A standard 6-inch wall cavity holds R24 worth of newspaper insulation. That exceeds the performance of most off-the-shelf fiberglass batts. Commercial cellulose insulation, the product sold in bags at Home Depot for around $40 a bag, is the exact same material. Recycled newspaper, treated with borax. The only difference is the label and the price, one material. Already in your recycling bin. Replaces every bag of blown-in insulation ever sold. Component 2. Sawdust and wood shavings. Free at any local sawmill, cabinet shop, or lumber yard. Many of them pay for hauling services to remove sawdust. Ask for a bag or a barrel. You will not be refused. Sawdust has been used as insulation in American homes since the early 1800s. Thomas Jefferson insulated parts of Monticello with cellulose-based materials. American ice houses, which preserved ice through entire summers in the 19th century, were insulated almost exclusively with packed sawdust. Like newspaper, sawdust needs a fire treatment. Mix 1 part borax to 10 parts sawdust. Fill wall cavities, floor bays, and attic spaces by pouring and tamping. The R value of packed sawdust is approximately 2.5 per inch. A 6-inch wall cavity holds R15. An attic filled 12 inches deep reaches R30. That matches modern residential code for attic insulation in most U.S. climate zones. Balsa wool, which was essentially sawdust encapsulated in paper panels, was a popular commercial insulation product in the early 20th century. It can still be found today, intact, in the walls of historic northeastern homes that were built in the 1910s and 1920s. Over 100 years in the wall. Still insulating one material. Free from any wood shop. Replaces thousands of dollars of fiberglass and cellulose product. Component 3. Straw bale exterior walls. A bale of agricultural straw costs $4 to $8 at any farm supply store. A typical home requires between 200 and 300 bales for a full exterior wrap. Total material cost for an entire house: under $2,000. Straw bale construction uses compressed rectangular bales, stacked like giant bricks, as the structural or infill wall of a home. The bales are coated on both interior and exterior surfaces with lime plaster or earthen plaster. This plaster coating seals the straw from moisture, pests, and fire. The R value of a standard 2-string straw bale laid on its flat side is between R30 and R35. Laid on its narrow edge, it reaches R40 or higher. That exceeds the R value of almost every commercially available exterior wall system on the market, including SIP panels and closed-cell spray foam. Straw bale homes were built across the Sandhills region of Nebraska starting in the 1890s. Several of those original homes are still occupied. Some are over 130 years old. Their walls are still insulating. Their plaster is still intact. Their structural integrity has been confirmed by multiple university engineering studies. The Depression-era American farm understood that straw, which was a waste product from wheat and oat harvests, was one of the most thermally efficient building materials on Earth. One material, $2,000 for the walls of an entire house, replaces $15,000 to $20,000 of commercial exterior wall insulation. Component 4. Mud and lime plaster over lath. A 50-pound bag of hydrated lime costs around $15 at any masonry supply, mixed with local clay soil and chopped straw in a roughly 3-to-1-to-1 ratio. It produces a plaster that has been used to coat interior walls for over 4,000 years. The plaster is applied over wood or metal lath, roughly 1 inch thick, to the interior side of an exterior wall. It completely seals the wall cavity. It prevents air leakage, which is responsible for roughly 1/3 of all heat loss in a typical home. Earthen plaster has thermal mass. It absorbs heat during the day and releases it slowly at night. In a passive solar design, this single feature can reduce heating loads by 20 to 40%. It also regulates indoor humidity, absorbing moisture in summer and releasing it in winter. No commercial drywall product does this. Adobe homes in the American Southwest, insulated and walled entirely with earthen plaster over straw-reinforced mud, have been standing continuously since the 1600s, 400 years. No insulation replacement, no retrofit, no contractor, one material, $15 a bag. Replaces a full interior drywall system and provides passive thermal regulation no modern product offers. 4 materials, under $100 in total treatment and binder costs. An entire house insulated top to bottom to a standard that meets or exceeds modern building code. The chemistry has not changed. Trapped air inside a fibrous material still resists heat flow. Thermal mass inside a wall still buffers temperature swings. The laws of physics that made a Nebraska sod house warm in 1885 still work in a Pennsylvania farmhouse in 2026. The materials under your floor and inside your walls are not better. They are just patented, priced, and required by a code written around them. Walk into a farmhouse in rural Iowa, built in 1910. Pull back a section of interior wall. Inside the cavity, you will find crumpled newspaper from the Coolidge administration, handwritten headlines about the stock market crash, advertisements for Model T Fords. The paper is yellowed, brittle, packed tight. Still insulating the wall 11 decades later, walk into a sod-roofed homestead in western Nebraska, built by Norwegian immigrants in the 1880s. The roof is mud and prairie grass. The walls are straw bales coated in lime. The interior temperature in January, with a small wood stove burning, is 68 degrees, with outside temperatures of 20 below zero. The building has no furnace. It has never had a furnace. Walk into an adobe home in Taos, New Mexico, built in the 1700s by a Spanish colonial family. The walls are 18 inches thick, mud, straw, and lime. The summer sun outside pushes 105 degrees. Inside, the temperature stays at 72. There is no air conditioner. There has never been one from 1776 through the 1940s. Every American homestead, from Maine to California, used some combination of these 4 materials to insulate the walls of the home. 169 years of continuous, verifiable performance. In every climate, in every state. Built by farmers, not contractors. Then the post-war housing boom arrived, the standardized code arrived, the inspection form arrived, and within 2 generations, the methods that had kept every farmhouse in the nation warm were dismissed as primitive, unreliable, and unsafe. None of those words were ever supported by evidence. The evidence was the houses, still standing, still warm, still ignored. For less than $100 in borax and lime, using shredded newspaper, free sawdust from any local mill, and straw bales from any farm supply, you can insulate any home to a standard that exceeds modern building code. The same methods that kept every Depression-era American farmhouse warm through winters of 20 below zero are available to you right now. Starting this weekend, the complete Depression-era household manual, including exact borax ratios, wall cavity packing techniques, vapor barrier specifications, and plaster recipes for every climate zone, is linked in the description below. Tomorrow, this channel will show you the exact passive cooling system Depression-era families used to drop a room 15 degrees in the hottest part of summer, using no electricity, no compressor, and no fan. Every product in your home once had a $0 version. They buried it, now you know.